Today, we can be faced with many trials and tribulations, but what you think about yourself could possibly stunt your growth. Who you surround yourself with could do the same. To stave off this nonsense, we choose to empower ourselves with simple prayers, thoughts, and actions that can create a better day. Imagine making a mental and spiritual decision to be a beacon of inspiration. Today, on Fireback Radio, we talk with the woman who has done and continue to do just that. Up next, Dr. Kia Pruitt, right here on Fireback Radio.
From days of long ago comes a legend.
You have walked into the room of Fireback Radio. You can find us online at firebackradio.com. And of course, I'm your host, Brother Marquise. Dr. Kia Pruitt is an author, professional life coach, and an educator. Has a master's degree in counseling and leadership studies from Marshall University. She also has a doctorate of philosophy in education and counseling psychology from the University of Louisville. Dr. Kia Pruitt is also the host of the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show on Rumble, where she promotes strong family values and generational wealth. Dr. Kia, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, and I know this sounds wrong, but who are you? And where did you come from? And how is it that we don't have enough of you walking around in the streets? I mean, what is going on? And I say that because you're like a lightning rod, and we need people like you. We need more people like you. And so I just, one of the reasons why I had you on my show is so that people can know that people like you are out here. And I wanted to know, again, how did you become Dr. Kia Pruitt?
So the way I became who I am is when I was younger, I observed my experiences and my environment. And I said to myself, through my observations, that there is a certain way in which I want to channel this energy. And whereas there were some negative things and some positive things, I decided from an early age to take in everything and turn it around and make it positive.
Right.
I stuck through that all my life. So I did that, number one. And then secondly, I had a vision for my life from a young child. So when I had a vision for my life and I saw where I was headed and what I desired for myself, I knew that any experiences, any education, any skills, any knowledge, all had to be in alignment with my vision, even if those things were a little challenging. Some way I can turn it and transmute that energy. I didn't know the words transmutation, but transmute that energy to make it a positive for my life, because I had a goal, a mission, and a purpose to achieve here in this reality.
Wow. So you were driven. That's in short, you were just driven to do the right thing.
Yes.
So did somebody have to hold your hand through the process, or this is just self-realization? And I mean, what happened there?
No one held my hand through the process per se, but I had a very strict life with my mom. My mom was a single mother. She was 15. My dad was 17. And my mom didn't really know how to raise children because she was young.
Yeah.
She had my brother at 17. And the next thing I know, she had 5 children. She was a single parent. My dad was, he grew up in an intact family, but he struggled with drug addiction.
Right.
But with my mom, I saw hardship, living on, food stamps, projects, welfare, all that type of thing. And I remember being with mom and looking around my environment and thinking to myself, some kind of way, this has to be changed so that it will not affect my future generation. And then when I go to my dad's family, we had an intact family over there. My grandparents were married. They owned their own home. They had come from entrepreneurship, although they were elderly by the time I met them or came into this world. So, but there was a lot of love and joy and peace and, Christianity and Christian principles and family values. How my dad ended up strung out on heroin, I do not know. But even though my dad had those issues, he taught me beautiful principles like how to eat well,
right,
how to be a vegan, how to drink water, how to exercise. And, so when he had his times of clarity, he would teach me things. And then my grandparents taught me about love and family values. And even when I would go back home to mom, even though we were struggling, mom taught us how to read when we were young. She had me at 15. She said, if other children are outside playing, you will read. So we grew up without a television. And anytime mom wanted a television for herself, she would only allow us to watch educational programs. But we grew up, for the most part, without television, without music at mom's house. And she was studying the Nation of Islam because she wanted to get her life together.
right.
We read books by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. We learned discipline. We learned structure through the Nation of Islam, even though there was chaos all around us. And mom was struggling, with trying to manage children and welfare, blah, blah, blah. And then she just had a moment of enlightenment. And she left the Nation of Islam but took the principles with her. Mm-hmm. And she joined a church where they told the woman who became my aunt, because I ended up marrying her son, the woman that was the pastor of that church, said, everybody in this church, I'm sick of hearing people say that we're all poor. So you have 30 days to get off welfare, get a job, and go to school.
What?
Yes. 30 days. So my mom said, okay. She started crying. She shed her tears. She said, I have 5 children. I don't know what to do. By this time, I was a young teenager or a preteen. And mom, she said, okay. She went and got her GED. She went and got a LPN. She became a nurse. And so even though we were still struggling, it was still hard, and she was trying to navigate relationships. And some of that time we were in the projects until she could get us out into the suburbs. I kept looking around and said, I'm going to choose all the good, everything good mom's doing, everything good that the pastor's doing. You know what I mean? And I'm going to put that in my life, and I'm going to use it towards my future. And anything I don't like, I'm just not going to do it. So I saw a lot of single parent households. I said, I'm not going to do it. I saw a lot of people carousing and having experiences, sexual experiences. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm a virgin. I'm going to be married as a virgin, and I'm going to marry a man in the church. And at the same time, the church that we were a part of at that time were grooming us. You get married. You take care of children. There are gender roles. And those were the same principles that my father's mother, my grandparents, had taught me whenever I would go stay with them.
Yeah.
So, that's a long way to say I just looked at what was good, what was righteous, and I incorporated in my life. And I said, I'm not going to be a single parent because I see we're struggling. I'm not going to have children by multiple men. This is just me.
Yeah.
Because I know that men value chastity and men value women who love their bodies and respect their energy and their life.
Hey, hold on. Wait a minute. I mean, say that again for the people in the back about men loving women that are about themselves. Say that again. Holy crap.
Men value women who are good stewards of their mind, body, and emotions. So men value chaste women. Men value women who don't allow a lot of negative energies, whether it's sexual energies or negativity in their bodies, period. That's just how men are designed. And that's something to be lauded and applauded and appreciated. because a man is careful about who is going to cultivate and nurture his seed. Men are for procreation, provision, and protection. He wants a woman that he knows is going to nurture her seed. That's a characteristic of a woman, is nurturing. It's hard to nurture a man's seed if you have a lot of negative energies in your body, in your yoni space, or your private parts. Men value chastity for that reason. I need a wholesome woman who has kept her body for me, because a woman is designed for the pleasure of a man.
Wow.
That's scripture.
Wow.
God said that he created, man in his image. You report up to God, but he created the woman from man. If you're a Christian.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And for his pleasure, he created the woman to be a help meet for him. People say, she's my help meet, but they don't necessarily understand that. Help meet for him, help designed for him, help worthy of him, cultivated for him and his pleasure. And that's the way the church and the community that when she took us out of the projects and she put us inside the church, the community taught that, and it was in alignment with what grandma taught when I would go stay with grandma.
Yeah.
So you teach the woman how to be trained to be a wife, because a woman is the feminine expression of God. The man is the masculine expression of God. So they have to work together. That's the law of gender. The law of gender, there are two genders. They have to work synergistically together in order to be whole and complete and healthy. Yes. So you have to, when you understand that you are designed for the man, then you know that and you have to know what a man desires. He desires a chaste woman. We need to teach those principles again, because it's the truth.
It is the truth. I got two teenage boys, and they are men and boys, young men. We are an interesting people, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And just in my experience, that's actually what I look for. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I look for. I mean, you got people who got the looseness going on, and let them have that. But I don't want a body count. I mean, everybody knows and everybody has seen. I can't even marry anything like that. Because for me, that does not give me any gratification, knowing that this woman has been sliding down a sliding board of men for a long time. But for you to say that hit me square in the chest, and I'm glad nobody can see my face right now, because I mean, you brought a few tears, because it's like finally somebody speaks the truth, the absolute truth. And thank you for being that truth here on Fireback Radio. But getting back to how you were raised, you were not necessarily, well, some people will say you become a product of your environment. The thing that I heard you say is that you had the experience of both sides, and you chose one.
Yes, absolutely.
And in my lifetime, look, you and I, we walk the same path in that kind of manner, because in my background, it's the same situation. I saw the projects, the hood, the broken marriage, the violence in the streets, the violence in the home, the drug, the alcohol, yada, yada, yada. And I've actually had, in my family, the mayhem, and I sat back and I saw that. And I said that I'm not going to be that. The whole welfare thing. I remember listening to conversations of how you can play the system. And I was even told that I could play the system too. But I'm like, as a young person, I'm like, I can't even fathom that, because what if somebody's there that actually needs help?
Yes.
They can't get it because I'm occupying space. And so I chose not to go that route. It just didn't feel right to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you spoke about the energy of it. That didn't feel, I felt it. And that just didn't sit right in my spirit. And so I chose not to go that route. I mean, trust me when I say I've had every opportunity.
Yes.
But I didn't. And the woman that I married is outstanding.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she is absolutely outstanding. I mean, we are all flawed, but you know what? We pick each other up. And if she has a boo-boo, you know, I'll get her a Band-Aid. I am that. Yeah, I am that kind of guy. But moving right along, I want to know, like, what did you see? You said I think you said your grandparents were entrepreneurs. What did you take away from that?
You know, when I was growing up and we would play in the store, my grandparents had a house with a store attached to it. But by the time we came along, you know, we had the cash register, we had the freezer, we had things in there, but it wasn't operating as a store. She had lots of plants and stuff in there. I grew up seeing the store and hearing, you know, go get the plants out the store, go water this plant here, or, you know, stop running in the store. But I didn't really understand what it meant because it was just a part of everyday life that there was a store there. You know what I mean? That there had been a store there. We were playing on the cash register. It didn't even dawn on me until I was an adult that, wow, they actually ran a store.
Yeah.
And I knew we had some level of money because we had ownership. We owned our house. We owned land in the back. My grandparents were upstanding in the church. The whole community were property owners. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I just knew that there was a different mentality. They didn't talk about welfare. They didn't talk about gaming the system. They talked about family values. They talked about love, joy, peace, a God, being wholesome. We only saw my grandmother respect my grandfather. She called him daddy. When I got married, I called my husband, God rest his soul, daddy.
Yeah.
So she called him daddy. We ate at the kitchen table together. You know, she was a traditional woman. She cooked, she cleaned, she ironed, she gardened. And when we needed extra money, she would work part-time at the school right across the the school that she sent us to. So what I saw was a mindset that was different. It was an abundance mindset versus that scarcity mindset.
Wow.
Where I got to hustle, I got to get it. You know, I got to game the system, I got to get it, I got to run. I didn't see that with my grandparents. It just everything just flowed so well. Mm-hmm. You didn't even think about their business owners. Right. And grandfather owned a sausage business in his youth. He was much older when I came along. He was about in his late 60s, 70s. Mm-hmm. So I had to hear stories about the sausage business as an adult. I didn't even know. I just know we had money. Yeah. So I never ate at restaurants, never ate McDonald's, never had, you know, microwave food. So I never cooked that for my family. To this day, I won't. Never ate out of cans, which was different from growing up. And when I was with my mom, you know, a single parent household for, you know, the short period before she learned how to eat to live. Right. So, yeah, it was just a different mindset.
Wow. Now, when you're talking about eating to live, what does that look like?
So eating to live is living foods that nourish your body and nourish your cells. Right. So that would be raw, fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh, fruits and vegetables, I should say. And if it's cooked, it's lightly cooked because according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, those foods that are still living, they nourish your body. Where if you overcook them, or if you eat only cooked foods, then, you know, your body may have a hard time digesting. So when I was in the Nation of Islam, we learned to juice. In the projects, I tell Mom all the time, because she's sometimes hard on herself and say, I did my best. I'm sorry I wasn't perfect. I'm like, Mom, in the projects, you taught us how to juice. Yeah. What? We didn't eat sugar.
Who does
because
that?
sugar kills you. If you ate candy, you had to have honey, and then we rarely ate candy. So eating to live is eating living foods that sustain your body. And we also learn to fast from the time I was a small child. So you go periods of time without eating food so that your cells can regenerate and your body can dispel or get rid of the dead cells or the disease cells and replenish your cells. And that happens through fasting. You can heal your body. So you learn that when you eat to live as well, to go through periods of fasting. So I've been doing all of that since I was a child. And so that's what I mean by taking the positive, because people think of the Nation of Islam like, oh, there was some, scandal associated with that, et cetera, et cetera. Elijah Muhammad may not have been perfect, but I understand that when you look at the word perfect, this is what I mean. It's a choice. Life is a choice, like you said. Perfect means you have to exegete and eisegete the word. You exegete, you look at the etymology of the word, and then you eisegete it. You look at the word within context. Perfection means to be whole, to be complete. It doesn't mean you do everything correct all the time. And then when you are in error, you correct yourself. So even when they talk about the Nation of Islam, I said, we left because of some of the things that were happening, but I'm not going to look and say, oh, I hate that. I mourned over it. I'm sorry. But I learned so many valuable lessons, so many wonderful things like how to eat to live. Yeah. So I thank God for those experiences. And now I know what not to do.
That's right.
And what to do. So, so that's what eat to live means, to eat foods that nourish your body and not to eat those that don't. So, dead foods, I don't eat meat. We went through periods where we did eat meat, but we ate what's called clean. We don't eat, the foods in the Bible that are prescribed in the Bible as unclean or that are prescribed in the Quran as unclean. We only eat those that are clean.
Right.
So there's certain meats and fish that you can eat. But I chose to be vegan. So because, I want to eat to live. This is the way it's best for my body.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk about language for a minute. Now, I've listened to you speak over the last, I guess, few months. I've seen some of your podcasts, and your language is different. Like when you speak, you use different terms, different than the average person. Like I've heard you. For instance, you don't say good morning.
Yes.
Why don't you say good morning? Why, look, educate us. Why don't you say good morning? And I understand what it is, or I overstand what it is. Let me get it right. Why? What's up with good morning?
Well, when I look at the word mourn, I think of sadness and sorrow. So there may be other definitions for the word mourn. However, when I arise at sunrise, it's my desire to rise joyful. So I'll say joyous rising or joyful rising or great rising, grand rising, because as you know, words cast spells.
Oh, you girl, let me take. Okay, we're going to park right there. What you mean? It sounds like Gary Coleman. What you talking about?
What you talking about?
And that's some legitimate stuff, because we don't really understand. There you go again. We do not have the proper comprehension of what comes out of our mouths, because that was given to us in a manner that will contain us.
Yes.
So what do you mean by casting spells?
So the words that we speak are very, very powerful because we are God. The scripture says, "Know ye not, you are gods," and it goes on in three different occasions that say you are gods. We are the embodiment of the creator or of source. So whatever we do and say and think actually manifests.
Yes.
Words cast spells. So if you cast words of positivity, that's what will manifest and multiply in your life. If you cast words of negatively, the same will happen. Negativity, the same will happen. So when I arise in the morning, see, I have to even correct myself. At
Yeah.
sunrise, I want to think of joy. I don't want to think of mourning. So I say grand rising. And when I don't say it, I catch myself
Holy, that
and
that's
correct
a
myself.
that's a complete shift in thought.
Hmm.
And you have to be careful. This is what I tell my kids. You have to be careful what you think. You have to be careful how you think. And you have to be careful of who you surround yourself with as they think, because they will cast themselves into your mind. And next thing you know, you're doing what they're doing. And next thing you know, you're caught up in some shenanigans that you should not ever have been involved with. And it's a shame, though, that most of us learn the hard way. But
Absolutely.
but by your example, your parents and your grandparents' example, you were absolutely fortunate to be able to see the difference and then make a unconscious decision to do better, to uplift yourself out of the potential gutter that you could have easily just gotten sucked into.
Yes, yes, yes.
So when you're talking about language, it's even in the language that we speak.
Yes, yes.
Now, you said overstand. What's the difference between understand and overstand?
That's terminology is something I learned from the Moors. And I love that, I've been exposed to different people, different cultures, different religions, because I do my best to take positive things from that. So I don't stand under anyone because I'm God. I'm the embodiment of God. I'm God's child. I'm the source, in flesh, however we choose to see it. So I don't stand under. When I say I don't stand under anybody, I mean I don't stand under a rule of government. And so I know that when they came up with understand, what they were trying to say is, do you realize that you stand under our authority as being a slave?
Wow.
That's one of the reasons I don't like the word black, because black means you have no standing in law. You don't exist. You don't matter. So I don't call myself black. So when you get people to say I'm black, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
No standing. And I do have standing in law, which is not underneath anybody as a sovereign entity.
Right.
Now I may work with somebody. I may even stand behind my husband because he protects me. But to stand under, no.
Wow. 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 So casting the spells.
Yes.
They do it everywhere. They teach this in school, and even in law, they teach it in law. It's a part of law. And what about the attorneys? What about the judges? Do they even, I think they have their own language, which is why you need representation when you go in there.
I see. Yes.
And that's interesting all by itself, because if you don't know the speak, then they will hem you up just by the language, and you don't even know how you got there.
That's completely the truth. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So when I listen to you, I hear certain things that just kind of pique my interest, and you kind of hit me in the chest when you talk about casting spells with language. That I got stuck right there in that moment. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry.
Right. So like you said, we have to be mindful of the words that we speak, because words are energy, and energy actually materializes.
Absolutely. And that's what you did as a child.
Yes.
Growing up, seeing what you saw, you made a determination, and you went for it. And then as you grew, you continued to learn and then speak life into situation.
Yes.
And now,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And now you are, people know you around the world, Dr. Kia.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know if that was your plan, but because you are who you are, because of what you've done and what you've experienced, and then what you share, people know you around the planet.
Praise you.
And congratulations, by the way, to that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
indeed. You. So so continue on with the story. I mean, as far as your education goes,
yes.
What drove you? I mean, did you say, okay, I'm just going to go to college and get a degree like most people, or were you pointed in a direction and I want to get to a particular destination? What happened there with you?
My mother told us all the time, you're going to college, because she didn't finish high school. Mm-hmm. And so she made sure we made very good grades in school. She was very, very present, even, as a single mother. Yeah. She was very present. So she said, you're going to college. When I became a teenager, though, I knew I wanted to be married. I knew I desired to be married, and I was I had a dilemma. So my mom said, I don't necessarily want desire for you to be married, because as I was coming up in the church, I knew this is the best route for me, because I didn't want to be fast. Fast was a bad thing for women to be fast back then, or loose, or to have activities before you were married. Yeah. And, so I was like, okay, I'm probably going to get married at 18. But my mom said, I don't think you should get married. But if you do, you must go to college. You must. So I went to this college that my husband went to, and his sister, and our friends that grew up in the church and our community went to. We all went to the same college. Mm-hmm. And I went to college there, and I desired to be a journalist, but they didn't have journalism there. So what I had to do was create my own program. I had to say, okay, they may not have what I desire, but I can create what I desire. And that's how I went about my life. So I got the degree, and then I just knew that in my soul that there was a high purpose for me, that one day I would be a prominent figure, but I did not know what that would look like. Yeah. And so I said to myself, I have to not only get a degree, but I have to get the highest degree possible. Because while I was in undergrad school, I studied psychology, sociology, economics, a plethora of things to create my own degree. Right. And one of the things I learned was Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he talked about self-actualization that sparked a light in me, and it ignited a fire in me. And so I have to become highly self-actualized and reach my maximum potential until I reach transcendence. And so the bachelor's, it served its time, it served its purpose. Then I said, okay, now I need a master's. I want to study leadership. I need to study how to counseling, because I need to heal my wounds. I need to heal my community. I need to heal my marriage. I need to heal my children. So I got a degree in master's in leadership, and then a master's in counseling. And so I just kept going until I felt I was continually maximizing my potential as a God being, or, some people say human being, but I knew that, no, there's something special about each one of us. We're God in flesh. We're spirit having an experience, and I'm going to have the highest experience possible, so that I can achieve joy and peace and love and all those juicy things that the Bible talks about. Yeah. And even that all of the religious and spiritual leaders talk about. I'm going to reach that, even in education. Every part of my life, emotional, psychological, physical, financial, educational, is going to be highly self-actualized. I'm going to maximize my potential in every area, so I can have the greatest experience in life and provide that for my family and all those who are around me. That's what leaders do.
Talk about it, girl. Wow. I mean, that right there is when as you spoke, that was clarity and determination. And that's it seems like that's how you exercise. I mean, you had an intent. Yes. And undistracted. you made it to a point to where you did get your doctorate.
I did, yes.
From the University of Louisville, nonetheless.
Yes, Research One institution.
Yeah, that's right down the street from me. I mean,
Yes, that's right.
yeah. I'm about an hour and a half away, but it's right down the street. So,
absolutely.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
And thank you. And it took time, brother. It took me 10 years to complete my doctorate degree, because that's a degree you have to do on your, after I achieved my 2 masters and my bachelor's. But the reason why I'm bringing up, it took 10 years because I still had to go through life and I had setbacks. So I want to paint a picture that although I knew my purpose was to be highly self-actualized, and actually my purpose is to deliver God's people and help bring people to a place of maximizing their potential.
Right.
So I had setbacks. My husband and I separated. I want to paint a picture, and we had issues and sickness, and and family going through separation and all that, and trying to figure it out. And then I said, wait a minute. The scripture says, suffer yourself to be defrauded. So it doesn't matter if you think he has these issues. There, in some way, you have to take accountability for how anything you may have done to contribute. And you have to take accountability for how he may have processed things. You just have to be accountable and responsible. And go back and talk to your husband and heal the relationship.
That's
because
right.
if you're self-actualized, it's not about what another person did. It's not about, I was mistreated, I was abused as a child, I grew up in a single parent household, I experienced poverty, I saw projects, I saw people lose their life. No, it's about all these experiences made me the person that I am, and now I have a level of compassion where I understand and understand that people go through things. So I learned to process and say, let's go back and heal this and fix it for the sake of love, for the sake of peace, for the sake of family, for the sake of legacy.
Woo! Yes. So to those people who are going through, in addition to what you just said, what else would you add to that? To people who are going through the trials, the tribulations, the nonsense right now. I mean, there are some people who might not be able to see the forest through the trees, and it's hard. Life can deal you some serious blows. Life and death can happen. It does happen every day. What do you tell somebody to get them to appreciate where they could be? How do you move them from point A to point B? What is the steps to doing that?
Okay. I would say first, if you are able to ask yourself, what is my goal? What is my desire? How do I see my life playing out? What is it that I desire for my life? Because without a vision, people perish. So have a vision, and sometimes you may not have that vision. Write it down, create a collage, do whatever. And even if you don't see how you're going to get that there.
Right.
Have some type of goal in your life. And if that's hard to do, and even if it isn't, I would suggest some type of counseling, whether that be pastoral counseling, spiritual counseling, traditional counseling. And when you talk about words cast spells, I try not to say therapist, because one day I had an awakening that therapist says the rapist.
It's true.
My God, that rapist. No, I'm gonna try not to use that word. So get counseling, and healing. There are many ways you can do that. Go out in nature, different ways, but know what your goal is for your life, and then get counseling to help you deal with the setbacks, the trauma, the trials, the wounds, all that. Get some type of counseling. Even if it means some people do counseling in their home, by praying or meditating or offering libations to the ancestors, whatever your way is. Or I actually, even as a counselor, went to go see counselors.
Of course.
And work through those issues. But sometimes you have to be wise about the counselors you choose and not allow them to just let you ruminate over your issues over and over and over again.
Right.
Because talk therapy sometimes can get caught up in a loop where you're just talking about all your troubles, your problems all the time. And then you just keep manifesting that over and over. Talk about it and then move on. What is your ultimate goal? And then what are your objectives to getting to your goal?
Wow.
And then you set SMART goals. Okay, what are the steps or objectives? They're also known as SMART goals to get to my ultimate desire. This is something I'm a certified life coach as well. Mm-hmm. Something I learned that life coaching is different from counseling. Counseling, talk therapy, a lot of that is just about dealing with your issues. Life coaches take you from where you are and where you've been to where you desire to go by setting SMART goals. SMART. Are they specific? Specific goals. Are they measurable? That's the M.
Wow.
Is it achievable? Can you reach it? Is it reachable? And is it something that's time tested or set a time frame for? And then get the job done. No excuses. Get it done. You're God in flesh. Take accountability for where you are. Take accountability for your life. Take accountability for the relationships you've had. Take accountability for the mistakes you've made. Take accountability for the fact that you may have put yourself in certain positions to even go through certain life experiences, because a lot of things is by choice. But even if things happen to you, take accountability for your life. And then set a goal, set specific objectives, what we call SMART goals, to achieving that goal, and get it done by any means necessary.
Shut up and do it, in other words.
Yes. Thank you.
Shut up and do it.
Yes.
I just want to tell you, my wife is a life coach.
Okay, wonderful.
She's a life coach. She's all of that and a bag of chips. And she says hello, by the way.
Hi, Mama. An honor to be able to say hello to the Queen.
Yes, indeed. And so what you're saying, trust me, I hear it, I see it by her example, and she even presses me, and that's not a bad thing. It's great to have somebody who will definitely smack you over the head with a dose of reality to push you to do better things, and to go beyond yourself. And no matter what, you can do it. Just stay on course, stay the path, as they say.
And the thing about being a woman is that it's such a beautiful gift of being a woman, because you can push your man. And a lot of women that I have coached, because so many of us are, in this reality, we're very masculine and aggressive and hard spoken and harsh kind of, because that's the way we were designed or cultivated in this type of reality, in this age. However, you as a feminine woman can press your man just by inspiring him and making suggestions.
That's right. I would agree.
Offering different ways of seeing things. Especially if you have a man that can't hear or just hard. Maybe he's caught up in his ego. We were raised to believe that all men have ego, so you massage his ego. You use your femininity, your feminine wiles.
That is true. That is true. And my wife is giving you high fives and thumbs up and smiles.
And he and I know that a man will say, "I'm so glad I thought of that," and he will take the credit because he's the leader, he's the man. And men have egos. So as a woman, You know that may happen, but what we're more concerned with is getting the job done,
Yeah.
getting the goal accomplished. So even if he says, I'm so glad I thought of that, or even if he walks about like, yeah, I feel good. I'm the man. I did that. We're thinking in our mind like, yeah, okay. It's okay, sweetie. Yeah, you did it. In the back of our mind, we're like, I knew I could get it done.
You know what? I'm not even going to tell you how right you are, because you already know. I mean, and I'm glad. I'm glad you can't see my wife's face right now, because if she could roll on the floor and laugh, she would be doing that. Because it's funny because it's true. You are speaking the language of my wife right now, and that is okay.
Yeah, and I think women should also know, that speaking to the audience, that doesn't mean you're not going to have arguments. That doesn't mean you're not going to agree. It just means that at the end of the day, you realize that you have a very critical role as the woman to breathe life into the man and life into the children and life into relationships, because that's what we do as women. In the Bible, it talks about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The way the ancient Egyptians would interpret that is Asar, Aset, Heru, and the Holy Spirit being mother, Father, Son, mother. So if the Holy Spirit is mother, and that spirit is breath and life, the mother breathes breath and life in the man. So
absolutely.
Even if we have issues, even if we have arguments and disagreements, at the end of the day, we know our power is to breathe life, and we'll correct things quickly. So I just wanted, the reason why I brought that up is because some people think, oh, when you teach these principles, you're taking us back to the 1925s and you're acting like everything's perfect and you're not going to have disagreements. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you understand and overstand that a male is structured, disciplined, he only sees things, he not only, but usually sees things as black and white. He wants to get the job done. We're more colorful, a little warm, we're flexible, we are emotive. And some people will call that chaotic energy because we ebb and flow, which is a good thing. And so, but you have to know your power as to being ebbing, flowing, emotive, nurturing, kind, loving, peaceful, all those things to bring the relationship back to where it needs to be, even if you have a disagreement.
Yes, absolutely. And that, as far as disagreements go, you can have plenty, but it's how you operate within that disagreement that can bring you peace, even in disagreement.
Yes.
Because my wife and I, we don't agree on much. We don't necessarily agree on much, but it's how we interact in that disagreement.
Absolutely, because you're two different people, two different personalities. You get two different experiences, and then you become one, and that takes work to synergize, to learn to synergize.
It does, and some of that is ego, to where you really have to downplay that ego, and you have to be like fluid. You got to get in where you fit in and make a difference.
And let me tell you something that the women taught us in the church, and my grandmother taught us, is, gosh, you were talking about disagreements. It escaped me. What did you just say about disagreements? Oh my God. Oh, if you can't talk it out, or if like the ego gets in the way, and your husband he just can't hear it or whatever. They taught us, look, you have power. You're spiritual. Go to source, go to God, pray until you reach the heavens. Pray, speak in tongues, whatever, speak in another language, speak to source, God, or pray to your ancestors. And what you do is you're creating an environment that's conducive for your man to hear you, because men they have egos. They were created for war. They were created to discipline, to lead, to fight, to challenge. They have to have egos, but you can massage his ego, not just by speaking pleasantly and loving him, by going to his head, which is the creator, God, Going to his ancestors.
That's a cheat
Speak
code.
to them. Yeah, it's a cheat code. Dance before the ancestors. Dance until you go into a frenzy. Dance, 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 dance until you change and transmute the energy in the room and in the house. So when he comes in that house, he doesn't know what happened. When he comes into your room, he doesn't know what happened. All he knows is all of a sudden a spirit of calmness and peace came over him.
Mm.
What the woman is supposed to do. We provide a covering too, in that we know how to go through the ancestors and to God and to source, to higher powers, to set the atmosphere for our husbands to be able to calm down or whatever, or see our side. So if your feminine wiles aren't working, or it's a little challenging, or, maybe this issue is bigger than speaking kindly to him, or, bringing him a hot plate, or taking care of him by your wifely duties in the bedroom. If that's not working or it's challenged, that's all right. You got another arsenal, another weapon in your, what they call it, arsenal. And I'm not a war person, but
that's all right. We're gonna make it work. But I'm gonna tell you like this: my wife is. I think she has a difficult job, but as far as dealing with her husband is a very simple man. Let me tell it. And all she really, let me tell it. My wife's giving me the gas face over here, but I'm a very simple man. Like when she pisses me off or when I'm upset, there's like 2 or 3 things that can take care of me. And a tomahawk steak is one of them. And I'm sorry, I eat the meat, but when my wife can soothe me with curry goat, or a lot of times she'll just smile and speak because I love her voice.
Yeah.
And she'll tell me, "Here, come lay down." And she'll talk. Matter of fact, she'll get on the phone and start talking to people. And I'll just listen to her voice. And I'll fall asleep on her lap.
That's beautiful.
And I might wake up still upset, but that hyper anxiety, that tension is gone. And we can actually then have a conversation. And a lot of times for me, like when I get upset, see, I know myself too. It's like when I get upset, I need to lay down. I need to close my eyes and reset. Because some things out here drive you to drink. They'll drive you to do stupid. They'll drive you to react strongly, and it's not in your best interest at that time to react as you see it in your head because it's dangerous. A lot of times you need to see an issue, and before you react, pack that stuff away and just make a U-turn and just go the other way. And for me, take a nap. And when you wake up, you're able to deal with it a bit better because that first snap reaction usually is somebody said one time, they say issues happen in 60 seconds. Because think about it. 60 seconds can determine life or death.
That's right.
And in some cases, it's not even 60 seconds. It's 30 seconds. Yes. It's just long enough for you to process and be like, okay, I'm going to, do whatever it is. But for me, I want people to understand you can have a life-changing event in 60 seconds. So before you do something stupid, pause and think about what that 60 seconds is going to do for the rest of your seconds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you do not want 60 seconds to mess up the rest of your life. And there are a lot of people going into jail, going in right now, or going into the hospital because of 60 seconds. How long is your life? But the wrong 60 seconds can ruin the rest of it. But
that's powerful.
Yes. Yeah. But on the other side of that, in that 60 seconds, you could save somebody's life.
Yes.
Because of a decision that you made for the positive. You know, you got yin and yang, you got negative and positive. So let's go to the positive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't have to all be negative. I mean, let's put the weight on the positive side. let's do that. And that's one of the reasons why I like you so much, is because when I see you, your energy is so fresh. And again, if I had a button, you know, if I was God, I would hit copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, because we need more people like you out here in the world. We need more people that we can see who's driven and who's determined to go from point A to point B, and to have people come alongside you to help you, also to be a witness, not only to your struggle, but to your success as you go through.
Yes, sir.
Because that testimony is strong. What you said early when we started the conversation, that's some strong stuff. Because easily you could have, right now, you could be in a very not so pleasant atmosphere.
Yes.
But by choice, you created opportunity, and you capitalized on opportunity, and your mindset stayed where it was supposed to be. And now you are your sunshine is hitting everybody. Your sunshine is hitting everybody. And I want everybody to understand that, or understand that you too can make proper decisions. Even though you may not have decisions, make the best out of your situation.
Yes.
You don't have to live in the gutter. You don't have to be in the dirt. You know, you can start there, but definitely don't end there. Or don't continue to stay there.
Right.
One of the things I like doing is exposing my children to different things.
Okay.
One of the things that I learned when I was, like, my mom died when I was 16. I was exposed to a lot for a 16-year-old. And then from a 16-year-old going forward, I went into the military when I was 18. To be exposed to a lot, you're able to see both sides instead of just the one side. Because if all you see is negative, then you are what you eat, basically.
That's right.
And it doesn't have to be like that. So to all the parents, make sure you expose your children to bigger, better, brighter things. And also you don't even keep the same circle of friends, because if your circle of friends are not on the same vibe as you, then you're going to have to let them go about their way, because the last thing you need is to have anchors dragging you down when you're trying to get up.
Absolutely.
And as they say, haters are going to hate. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. You keep moving, and you can say, hey, I'll throw you a lifeline. Come on if you're coming. You ain't got to hate. Come on if you're coming. I'm over here. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all.
And sometimes when you live your life, you know, on a certain trajectory, and a life of positivity, you're giving other people permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
Now they have a mentor or somebody to look up to.
Absolutely. And they'll be calling you. You're my mentor now. They'll be calling you because they want to know how.
Yes.
And matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I invited you to come on, is because I wanted to know. I'm like, what in your life brought you to this point? Because we all go through stuff. What makes you so different?
Yes.
And you were fantastic enough to let everybody know, hey, this is your story. And everybody has a lot of people have the similar story. Everybody has similar opportunities. Choose wisely. I mean, even down to the husband, choose wisely.
Yes. And you have to know, when it comes time to choose a husband, you have to learn about men and what men desire. It's just like if you were trying to qualify for a job, you need to know what the job description is, what they expect out of you, and whether or not you can meet up to those expectations. And if you can't and you desire that job, then you get the job done.
That's right.
It's the same when you're looking at a husband. What do men want? What do they need? How are they designed? And then qualify yourself for that mate. Or if you already feel that, you have things together, still for a particular person, you need to know what it is they need.
That's
and
right.
This is the issue that I see in the community, is that a lot of us don't really understand men and what they need or what they desire. So as a woman, you should, in my humble opinion, qualify for that job. And of course he should qualify too, but men do the choosing when it comes. Men grant access to relationships. We grant access to sex. I'll just put it like intimacy.
And that's the only, if I may, a lot of times nowadays, what I'm seeing is that women are only qualifying themselves by showing their backside.
Exactly.
And to me, it's laughable, because if that's all you have to offer, then that's my only expectation of you.
Right.
And no, you're not wifey materials, because a wife would know better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A wife would know better than just to show her. I mean, it irritates me that these young ladies and some of these old ladies, older women, they'll turn their back to the camera and then twist around so you can see their face. I'm like, what you showing? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I met a woman who's a model, and this woman says, this is what she told me. She said the reason why she got out of being a model was because she got tired of being looked upon like a piece of meat. And I can appreciate that. I've met a few of them who said the same thing. But what I find interesting about, like this one that I'm thinking of, who said pretty much the same thing, when I saw her photograph on Facebook, she showed her entire backside and say, what would you like to eat? Because she was at a buffet or something. She was with a tight, very short dress on, skirt or whatever. And what would you like to eat? Come on, man. You can't have it both ways.
You can't.
You can't have it both ways. Men are simple. Men are very simple. If they see something that they like, they're going to try to take it.
Right.
They might not want to keep it, but they will take it. And if it was easy for them, it's easy for Fred and John and the rest of them.
Yes.
And that does not make you a keeper. That just makes you temporary. You know what I'm saying? Because all tires, and my wife hates it when I compare women to tires, but men see things like cars.
Okay.
A woman is to be treated like a tire. You know what I'm saying? I mean, after you run the tread off of her, get a new one.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? But if you present yourself like a tire, then a man will run that tire till the tread come off and get another one. And what's crazy is I've had women say, why wouldn't you want to marry me? And my answer is simple. You ain't got no tread left.
Ooh.
Because everybody else then drove and you ain't got no tread left. And like you said, you had run flat with extra tread on your tire because nobody had you until your husband.
That's right.
So you're the ultimate keeper. And this is coming from a man. You know what I'm saying? This is coming from a man. I don't speak for all men. I'm just saying in general, this is what a lot of men see. But a lot of men want a woman who's kept.
Yes.
They're not going to necessarily tell it because women are too busy trying to show you what they ain't got no business showing you.
Right.
The big secret is men will look if you show them.
That's right.
Men will take it if you give them.
That's right.
Men will chase it men will chase you until you break down, and you break down. Then after they wore the tread out, they'll toss you to the side. But if once the man finds beauty, brains, and keeping yourself away from the physical nonsense, the right man will say, heck yeah. And the right man will run, not walk, to the store and grab himself a ring.
Yes.
And he will probably throw it at you because it'll get there quicker than bringing it to you.
I love that.
And like, I'm not gonna tell you about my wife. I'll have to say that for another time. But we kind of had a similar story to that. Matter of fact, I'll tell you like this. I never bothered to ask my wife to marry me.
Okay.
I just told her, I said, we're gonna make this a little more permanent.
Oh.
And started planning for a wedding. She didn't even know.
Wow.
She didn't even know until I said, yeah, so we're gonna get married somewhere. And she's like, what? And she tell me, she goes, so I just went along with it just to see how long that was gonna last. Whatever, Next thing you know, we practicing, rehearsing for a wedding, and then she realized, hey, this is serious.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if she wanted to flee, she had her chance. But she didn't want to flee, and it's been 22 years this November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And trust me, it was not without work. Mm-hmm. And I had to do a lot of self-evaluation. I've had to do a lot of core energetics. I've had to do a lot of everything you can throw at it. I mean, it's crazy because my life has come a long way of learning about who I am. You actually did yours just in conversation. It seems like you overstood that relatively quickly. Whereas for me, mine was a curiosity of ebb and flow. Okay, so if I turn here, what's the outcome? If I turn here, what's the outcome? Now you step. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but that's what I did.
Yes.
And just in 2022 and 2023, my wife and I had some major breakthroughs, and some of them breakthroughs almost broke. You know what I'm saying? Some of them situations we had some ugliness, and it was devastating. But just as bad as it can get, it can be as lovely and pleasant. Twice over. And right now we've that cloud has moved on, and we are sitting in a very, very good sweet spot right now. And the good thing about her is that she surrounded herself with a lot of women who are loving and caring, and they encourage one another. She doesn't deal with people who are backstabbers and backbiters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's... So, and for me, that's one of the things that I did too. I can't deal with foolishness. So my circle is very small. My circle is very small, and I like a small circle because now I can definitely manage, and I can have fun. I can be who I am, and the people that I deal with, they hold me accountable. That's the other thing too.
Yes.
And for the people who are listening, definitely surround yourself with a team who's going to hold you accountable. Because even if you're having a thought of skating to the left, they're going to put up that bumper and bump you back to the center.
That's the truth. I was just telling my son that today, that I have people in my life that are that way.
Yeah.
My oldest son is about 35. He's 35. But we were talking about having people to hold you accountable. And he said, he's like, yeah, really? And I said, yeah. And I asked him, I said, sister so-and-so? He said, yes. I said, I did a video one day, and I used a word that she said was inappropriate. And she called me on the telephone and said, I know that you're a speaker, and I don't know if I used a word or a phrase or something. She said, and I watched her video. She said, this one was a little less tasteful than what I expect of you.
Wow.
And I was like, ma'am?
Right.
And it wasn't like out of the way, or what she was saying was, as a person that's a leader, you have to be mindful of every word that you use, every connotation, and say things in such a way that it uplifts people. So she said, I need you to take that video down and redo it.
Ooh.
I said, yes, ma'am.
Wow. And you know what? It's you guys have respect.
Yes.
And sometimes people will tell you things even you don't see.
Yes, that's right.
And my wife used to tell me something similar to that. Mm-hmm. She would say, in reference to pain, she would say, when somebody's having pain, if you don't feel it, doesn't mean that it's not real.
Yes.
Because it's real to them. And if it's real to them, then it's real.
That's right.
My wife, she doesn't say that too often. And I think because she doesn't have to, because I remember it. And I carry it with me because, and that's crazy. Because usually husbands don't carry much of what their wives say. At least that's what the world would say. But a lot of things my wife would say, like that right there, that's hers. She said that. And that junk stuck to me like peanut butter in hair. And so she didn't like that peanut butter and hair, but that's how it stuck, And so, but that's amazing. But look, I wanted to move on because we're getting a little short of time. Your thing is strong family values and generational wealth.
Yes.
Now, I can appreciate the strong family values and the generational wealth. Talk to me. We're gonna do both. Strong family values. Talk to me about that. How do you bring values to your family? What do you do?
This is why culture and tradition is so important, because whatever your culture is, your tradition, the things that you learned from your ancestors and the people that came before you, that put you on a path to being a healthy, well-adjusted, loving, kind being. Those are the things that you pass down. And so you teach guiding principles or values and traditions to your children, maybe by the way you instruct them,
right,
and by the way you live by exampleship.
Right.
So it's my custom to be pleasant and to be to be righteous, what I would call righteous, according to biblical principles, according to the principles of Mayat, because they're the same. But that's my value. That's our values. And I pass those down to my children by teaching them, whether it's, sitting at the table or having family meetings, but more importantly, living them. For example, my husband is deceased, and even during times of separation, I was approached a lot by men, period, but especially married men. Mm-hmm. I'm not especially, but there's a principle that says, Mayat, that says, not thou shalt not commit adultery, but I have not committed adultery with my sister's husband or my neighbor's husband. So in the morning you rise up and you say, I have not stolen from my neighbor. I have not committed adultery with my neighbor's husband. I have not done this and that. No, I'm sorry. In the morning you say, I will not do this. I will not do that. So I live that. I will not. And then before I go to bed, I have not. So when I know I have to go to bed and say, I have not committed sin against my neighbor, and I have not done something with her husband. I have not stolen from my neighbor. I have not offended God. When I know before I go to sleep, I have to say I have not. I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
So I taught my children that by instruction and by the way I live my life. Anything that I can't do in the light, I am not going to do in the dark. That's integrity. Integrity is one of my principles. It's part of, it's a guiding principle. It's a part of my legacy that I always desire to teach to my children.
Right.
So the way you teach them is you instruct them and you live it before them, because what you do, as you know and have said, what you do speaks way more power than what you speak.
Absolutely. And they are watching everything.
Yes, they are.
And it's funny. They don't even know. They don't even know that they're watching. I mean, they themselves don't even know that they're watching until they have. My son just walked in. Until they are having a moment, and the memory of what you did comes to them, or their actions are motivated by what you did. A lot of times they don't even realize that it's you, that they were watching the whole time.
Whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. And like I've even talked to my daughter, all my children, the other day, like when they go through different things, and I can say, you haven't seen your mother do that. Or have you? No, ma'am. Okay, so if you have not seen me do that, then I expect you to raise to this high standard that I set before you.
There
Period.
you go. There you go. There you go. And that's something for every parent. And I've actually said that to my boys. I say, when have you ever seen me do that?
Right.
I haven't. Then okay, then you need to understand what you're doing, son. Follow me. It's okay.
It's okay.
I won't tell nobody.
Right. It's okay. It's all a part of growing pains.
That's right.
Everybody's trying to reach a level of maturity and perfection.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm probably like you and your wife, and that I expect perfection. I'm not one of those that say we can't be perfect. We all got, we all make mistakes. I do know that we all make mistakes, but I expect perfection. I expect wholeness and completion. I expect you to reach your potential, your maximum potential.
Absolutely.
And that's how I live. So that's what I expect.
That's right. I've actually told my kids one time, and maybe this is my mistake. This is what I told them. I said, listen, if you're going to make mistakes behind these doors, this is where you make them.
That's right.
Because once you get out there and you make that mistake, it's not going to be pretty, because the world don't love you like we do. And I will tell them, I say, I don't mind you making mistakes. Just understand that it is what it was. And let's learn from it and move on. Because again, like my son who just walked in the door, he's 18 and he's earning his freedom a bit more now, because he needs to be a citizen, positive citizen. When he walks out that door, he is not going to be a deadbeat. He is going to be, and he wants to go to college, so he'll be a senior this coming year. And his idea is to go to college, and that's fine. So he wants to go to college up in Muncie, Indiana, which is fine. Let's do that. However, what we're going to do, once you make your decision final, what we're going to do, we're going to set you up to buy a multifamily house.
Oh, I love that.
And you're going to live in one and rent out the others. And don't let what they say about the right hand, don't let what the left hand know what the right hand is doing, or something like that.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, and I told them, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set you up to where you can just live nicely, but you can't tell people this is your house. You can't tell people this is all yours, because once you let that cat out the bag, it's all said and done.
Right.
And that kind of goes into the whole generational wealth category. And for me, it's since I've done real estate, it is real estate. I've wholesaled real estate. I've been an agent. Matter of fact, I'm going back to become a real estate agent for the state of Indiana. And people know me as a truck driver. I've done a lot in my life. And one thing that I wish I would have done that I didn't know is how to build wealth.
Yes.
And now I have a clue. I have a clue. I've collected some silver.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've collected some currency. We won't talk about the currency. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. I do.
And I've even showed my kids. And what's cool about wealth, about money, and this is what I've done. Like when I would sell some real estate, let's say I had like $30,000 cash on me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would bring them to me and I would give it to them and say, hold this and count it.
Ooh. Ooh.
And I did that because I want them to understand it's only money.
Mm.
And if you got it and don't have it, because you got it, you know you can get it. So getting is not the problem. Keeping it, that's a whole different conversation. But I wanted them to touch it, feel it, smell it, smack them across the face with it, play with it, throw it in the air, lay on it. You know, everything that people who never had money do with money once they get money.
Yes.
You know, and so now once you have it, it's old hat. So every time when I get money, I always give it to them so they can hold it.
Okay.
So they understand it's just paper.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just paper. It really doesn't have any value. Just I'm like, read it. Read what's on it. And what's crazy is it's a Federal Reserve note. It ain't say nothing about money. It's just a note. A substitution for currency. Or for real currency.
Right.
So one of my things is that I wanted to educate them on money and wealth and how to go about getting it without having to necessarily go to work for it. Now you're going to have to go to work, but when you work, I want you to work smarter. I wanted you to work with something in mind that you can go and make the money work for you, so that when you become 20, 30, 40, you ain't got to go out there and work 80 hours just to make $5.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to us and give us your story about generational wealth. Why is that so important?
Well, my husband taught me that. I was 18 when I married him. He was 20, but we had been high school sweethearts. We liked each other, I should say, in high school. And he used to love to study real estate tapes. Back then, they had those little cassette tapes you could listen to.
Yes,
I don't
they
know if
did.
you remember those. And he would listen to real estate tapes, and he also was a handyman. He could fix anything as a teenager. And so when we got married, I'm like, he could fix things. He could build. He built his mom a bathroom. He worked on a church. He built structures, people's additions on their house as a teenager and as a young man. So when we got married, he told me that, when we have children, I'm going to teach our children. And he did. I'm going to teach our children how to build. At the same time, he was a phenomenal musician. He could play every single instrument, the major instruments, organ, keyboard, pianos, drums, saxophone, trumpet, trombone. I mean, guitar, lead guitar, bass guitar. He could teach. He learned. He knew how to play all those things. He taught himself to perfection. So he said, what I want to do is I want to teach our children these things. And he did. And he said, all these skills that I'm passing down to them will help them to not only work for themselves, but build wealth. And with this knowledge of building, you play the music as a musician for entertainment, but also to make money. And you go to work, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else, to make money. And then like you put it into real estate.
Right.
And so I watched him do that. And my children grew up watching him do that, and they worked with him in construction and flipping houses and things like that. So it became just a part of our lifestyle, that this is something that the business you can pass down, the homes you can pass down, and then being a person, for me, much later, who came to understand and overstand that silver and gold are money, like you, I taught my children, this is real money. And this is something that I want to pass down to, my grandchildren at some point. So like you said, you just live the life before them and instruct them along the way, make it a part of your culture, a part of your family, and and just live it, just do it. And so that's what I do. And even with the currencies and the precious metals, I take my grandchildren to acquire them if we're going to a local place, and I let them hold it in their hand, and I give them silver jewelry, just things like that. They love it, but they don't look at it like, oh my God, I'm rich, or nothing like that, because
Right.
they just look at it like this is a part of our life. It's a part of our tradition.
Yeah. Wow. So make it a part of the tradition.
Yes.
And that's see, this is stuff I really would have wish I paid attention to back when I first got married. We would definitely be in a different place right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's okay.
Right.
To everything has a start.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, and this is going to change my family tree.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm all about. I mean, of all the things that could happen, matter of fact, one day I'll get time, I'll tell you the whole story. But of all the things that could happen in my life, my mother changed the family tree by making a decision to not stay in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
And her life was hard, but because she made that choice, it gave us, the children, options that we could see and attain.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we did. And for me, I'm carrying that torch to my children. The only downside that I see is that I cannot plug. If I headbutt my kids enough, I can't seem to put my memory and experiences into their heads.
Right.
So that's the only problem that I have. I kind of wish that I could put that into them so that they will have an appreciation for the struggle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Generational struggle, I'll say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But with life, they themselves will have their own ups and downs, but at least they'll have support.
Yes, absolutely.
And I told my kid the other day, I'm like, you don't have to do anything alone. You're not by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I wish my dad would have told me that. But my dad told me to do some other things that were just he told me to do some other stuff I won't repeat,
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
but building generational wealth, what do you think the best way to go about it? I mean, just in your opinion, if you have a young person who's listening,
Yes.
and they were curious, oh, what about this generational wealth? What can we do, or what would you tell them?
Well, I know that silver and gold are not only money, but silver and gold are wealth, because that silver and gold maintain its value. It holds its value, and it increases in value over time because those are natural resources. So, and I'm what's the word I'm trying to say? I'm biased in that I love precious metals. So what I would say is consider what wealth is and what it means to you.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, wealth, for a lot of people, your health is your wealth, because without having health, you won't be able to enjoy whatever you built up.
That's right.
Secondly, I would say consider what wealth means to you and how you can create it and or acquire it, and then do that. So for generational wealth for me is the money, the fiat dollars that I have, putting that into something that's meaningful, whether that's land, silver, gold, or cattle. That's what the Bible defines as wealth. Land, you could look at the scriptures. I did a video on that. Yeah. Land, cattle, whenever he talks about somebody had wealth, it's usually land, cattle, silver, and gold.
Right.
You can add, diamonds and all that to it. But find a way, a means to be able to acquire those things and then hold on to them because they're very valuable. You don't just spend them. You
right.
Hold on to them so that you can pass it down to your posterity or your future generations so that they
Wow.
can know that they're financially secure. But once you acquire them, make sure you put things in trust, because trust is a part of estate planning. And that way, when you put them inside of a trust, not a will, but a trust, you're putting them in a secure type of, it's like it's an avenue or something that's created to put them in securely so that nobody can take them in the event that you pass away.
Right. Right.
Or somebody tries to sue you, they can't take what you have, your wealth, what you've acquired, even your house, your car, all of those things that that you acquire should be put into a trust so that nobody can, if they try to sue you and you only have this one particular car in the trust, you don't own first of all, they have to figure out who owns the car. You don't own the car. You don't own the wealth. You don't own the houses. You don't own the land. Your trust owns it,
Right.
and you manage it.
Own nothing but control everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So figure out how you can, acquire these certain things that you can pass out onto your children and do it and protect it.
Wow. Wow.
And teach children about it.
That's what I'm talking about. And you can't beat that, because once you store up generational wealth, nobody can say that they're poor. Nobody can
Right.
even speak poverty, because you're not. You don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you said that earlier about somebody was speaking that. I'm like, I've heard people say, well, we always going to be poor. I'm like, the devil is a lie.
Yes, he is. All the faith.
Yeah, I say we is not me.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, we go back to the language. This language and energies. That's why I'm so glad my mother didn't allow me to watch television. I don't know this whole. I never knew that slavery existed until I heard somebody talk about the movie Roots.
Yeah.
And then I saw the documentary later on in life. But even that Roots story was a story that was fabricated. The gentleman, he was sued by Harold Corlander, the creator of Roots.
Yeah.
And he said he sued him for plagiarism because he stole his story from the book that this Caucasian dude, Harold Corlander, wrote called The African. So Alex Haley allegedly stole the story and the characters and created the Roots story. So it did lead me on a path, though, to look at my history and to figure out my ancestry. And I realized, and I thank God, my family we weren't slaves. And this is the thing about listening to and believing somebody else's narrative. It's not always your story. And even if it is your story, it doesn't have to be your future.
That's right.
So they play these slavery movies over and over and over, and songs, low vibrational songs, to keep you with a lack mentality, scarcity mentality, and a poverty mentality, which then manifests into a reality of poverty.
That's right. That's exactly right. And getting into, like you said, low frequency movies, low frequency music, and that stuff is contagious.
It is.
And I've seen it. That stuff is contagious. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but I understand when you hear something enough and you have a little bit of talent, you then recreate the crap that you just heard.
Absolutely.
And then claim it as yours, but you don't even know that you're under a contagion. People don't even realize that they're under a contagion. They're under the enemy's spirit.
Yes.
When they do this stuff. And then they always wonder, what's the problem? I just told you what the problem is. Come up from there, put some sunshine on it, pour some bleach on it, pour the Lord on it, do what you got to do, and free yourself from it.
Yes, absolutely.
And then start over. And
because we are accountable and responsible for our own lives.
Yeah.
So, and we have the power to create any type of destiny that we desire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now it is time to create.
Yes.
What do you say? Manifest your destiny.
Absolutely. Yes. It's that time. It's time over for being pacified. I just learned that they are stuck out, not to be in politics, but I do usually do some studying of politics. But I just heard that the Supreme Court did away with affirmative action. And, I know some people feel yes, some people feel no, that was a bad thing. But what I see about that is, okay, now we're going into a reality where we're not focusing on what I don't have, what I need somebody giving me a hand up because of whatever happened in the past. We're really going to a new reality where we can create whatever we desire with our own power. Yep. By the help of creator and source of God, of course. But Kia Pruitt, personally, I don't want your handout. I'm going to create my own reality.
Mm.
I don't want your leg up, a leg, nothing. I don't want your extra help, nothing. And this is, as a community, what we need to do is start creating our own schools, our own businesses, our own banks, go back to how we used to be. And you don't need anybody to give you anything.
Yeah.
Because if they give it to you, then they can control you.
Yeah, it always comes with strings.
Mm-hmm.
Always come with strings. Looking at the welfare, they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a place to live. You only pay $25 a month.
Yes.
You have electricity and heat. Only another $25 a month. The only stipulation is you can't have no man up in here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have no husband up in here."
And should you be able to if you're dependent on Zaddy because he's your man?
Look, government turned out to be. They made government into husband.
They really did.
Yeah.
We got tricked, brother.
Yeah.
We got tricked. When the government can give you a handout and give you a Section 8 and give you food stamps and stuff, so you can be here, but you can't have your husband. That's the stipulation. Then for some, not all, but some women, it's like, well, I don't have to really work on this marriage.
Aha.
I got a way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember having a disagreement in my young years because, I was a virgin when I got married. I didn't know much about life. And I had a disagreement with my husband. And back in those days, you weren't allowed to. See, I didn't even speak out against my husband. My kids can't believe it. They're like, wow, Mom, like you people wouldn't think you really, this is real. Because I didn't speak back to my husband or anything, right? So
yeah.
I had a disagreement. And I cried. I walked to my grandmother's house, my maternal grandmother's house, about how we didn't get along. And I was like, he won't hear me. Because I didn't really know how to use all the tools that the elders had given me. And I said, can I stay here for a while? She said, oh, no, you can't.
What?
You made your bed, you lay in it.
That's right.
You married that man, that is your husband. I will not stand in proxy for your husband.
What?
This was a single. My maternal grandmother was single. This ain't the one that had the loving 2-parent household. That's not. I'm talking about my mother's mother. Yeah. You made your bed. You lay in it. She met me at the door. Didn't even let me walk in. Goodbye.
Whew. Woo. Them words.
I bet you I went back home and learned how to submit to my husband. I cried and said, honey, he said, where were you? I went to Granny's house. All right. Don't let that happen again. Now let's sit down and talk.
Goodness gracious.
Well, honey, and what I said was, honey, when you said such and such, I can't remember what it was. It really hurt my feelings. It made me, I felt, not you did this, that mean you did that. When you said that, I felt really badly.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to use I feel statements too. I feel really badly. I felt it really hurt me. And then we were able to talk and rectify it. But what if she would say, yeah, girl, come on, live with me.
Don't worry about him.
You know what? Anyway, so then we can get you a Section 8 apartment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure enough.
Food stamps and a job, and we'll get you some daycare that'll help you go to work like a slave. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff. But what if she had said that?
Ooh. That's a different dynamic, has she said that?
Yes. But when you give when you give us all these extra things, and a lot of women like to go to the most extreme cases. Yeah, but men were abusive and men were cheating. First of all, in 2023, there's not a lot of men that's knocking women upside the head for no reason.
Right.
So stop. As the young people say, stop the cap. I remember one time saying, Mom, Dougie, that's her son, and I could talk. I love Doug. I've been with him since I was a child. So, Mom, Dougie, he raised his voice, or he cracked a joke because we were kids. He cracked a joke, and then he raised his voice and told me that that's enough. And she said, and then what did you say? I was like, huh, ma'am? What did you say before it had even escalated to a certain point? And see, you ask a woman, what did you say? What did you do? We get very, very offended.
Yeah.
But for every action, there's an equal and with an equal reaction. So what I'm trying to say is, men aren't going around just smacking and yanking up women. The way men deal with conflict is we're gonna go to blows. So when men talk to each other, they already know we're not gonna have this discussion. We're not gonna have an argument because we're about to start knocking each other out. Because men, that's how men are. So it's the same when you're a woman. Men have to kind of contain themselves to, okay, just walk away. But if you keep yelling and screaming and shouting and spitting in his face and following him, and I've seen all kind of things and smacking him, and he might restrain your tail.
The hard way.
The hard way. And you're going to learn today that you're not equal to a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were taught that, but not today. So today we can say, oh, he's abusive because he told me no. He's abusive because he said we're not, they call it financial abuse. You can't spend money on this because we have bills. Today we'll say he's abusive because he said, be quiet.
Yeah.
He raised his voice. And then we can just go and leave our marriages. And I'm talking even from experience, even when we separated, it was easier. Now, the first time my grandmother said no. The second time, I didn't go to her, but my husband and I just had some issues and we had to figure out how to work it out. I was a little older, much older, as a matter of fact. But what I'm saying is, you look back in hindsight and say, oh, no, I can't do this because this is the government trying to get me to leave my marriage and not work through it.
Yeah.
We could say he abused me. We could say he cheated. But what I learned through experience is that almost everything can be worked through.
Yeah.
Nobody should be hitting each other. Nobody should be cheating. We all have our things that we cannot tolerate, or will not, I should say. Most things can be worked through. And if they cannot be, at least have a sense of peace because you did all you can. But the government will give you all these opportunities so you can leave your marriage very quickly, which is why 80% of all divorces are initiated by the woman.
But you know what? It's that goes back to your strong family values. When that happens, it degrades the family values, and it degrades any potential of generational wealth.
It does. You're right. You're right.
Because when you have strong family values and generational wealth, especially combined, you have a strong population of people who are less dependent on government. And when people are less dependent on government, the government has no control. Amen. And the government loves their control. They love it. They love it so much they will create stuff out of fluff just to get control back.
Wow.
And we could talk about that. That's some I gotta go grab my aluminum tinfoil hat for that one.
Wow.
Because I'm a big conspiracy guy. At least that's what I'm told.
But I get it. I do.
Yeah.
I get it. And like you said earlier, the government supplements the husband. And so when people tell me, yeah, but the reason why families are split up is because of all these programs, and they took the man out the home, I say yes, but we all have to take accountability.
Yep. Because
if we keep just saying the government, where's your accountability in that? You didn't have to leave, and you didn't have to accept the handouts, woman.
Yeah.
So we all played a part in it.
Yes,
just
indeed.
like with the drugs. I understand and overstand that they put drugs in the community. And I know it's hard not to take or experiment if you're going through. So I really get it. I study social science. But you best believe just because you put it out there, I'm not going to try it because I'm accountable and responsible for my own life.
That's right.
Just because it's there doesn't mean I have to take it. And I'm not going to take it.
There's a certain pressure that's always been there, for young people to dibble and dabble and in the curiosity. I mean, everybody goes through it. I went through it. But you know what's so funny? When I was a senior, I think, I had a friend of mine who was going, I was living in Virginia at the time. They were going to go take some, I don't know what it was, but they were going to go into a cave and just kind of hang out in the cave and just take, do some mushrooms or something. I was like, yeah, I'll go. Because it sounded fun.
It sounds harmless too. It's mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something you eat.
Yeah. So I never did that before. I'm like, it's not like, doing crack or anything, And so, but this is what she told me, because it's so funny, because she knew the kind of guy I was. She pulled me to the side. She said, Marquise, this ain't for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And she herself was going, and she was cool with me. But she was like, no, this ain't for you. And she said it in a way that I actually heard it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what kind of frequency she was giving off, but that thing resonated strongly. And it hit me. I'm like, well, okay. And I was good after that. I had, since that time, there was no curiosity. I mean, now mind you, I grew up in a household who was bringing it home, growing it in the backyard, bringing it in the boxes, the whole nine. I got a whole backstory, but I never needed the opportunity to do it until that moment. But even at that moment, it's like God sent somebody and be like, nah, this ain't for you. Don't even do it.
Wow.
But yeah, and now a lot of the stuff is synthetic. I have a friend of mine here who was just smoking weed, but the weed was laced with something.
Yes.
And
it's not the same.
Yeah. And it put that knucklehead into the hospital. He almost died. The man almost died.
Oh my God.
All because he was just wanting to hang out and be one of the boys or whatever that he was trying to do.
Yes.
And almost took his life.
Oh my God.
And I talked to my kids about it. I'm like, if you want to try this, there's a right way and a wrong way.
Right. That's right.
And I say, if you want to try it, you need to grow it. So you'll know what's in it. And if you're going to grow it, you might as well make a business of it.
Okay, there you go.
But we can't have that here in Indiana. You might have to go to Illinois because I think it's legal next door. So,
right.
But
right.
no, but we are not doing that. That's not the kind of people we are. I've seen these drugs destroy people, and we are not about that life. We're not trying to do that.
Right.
But if you do it right.
Do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right. That's why I have an entrepreneur mindset. If you're going to do it, if you're going to smoke weed, grow the weed and grow the best weed and sell the weed legally.
That's right.
I mean, the government's doing it.
They had to capitalize on what, some of the things that people were doing to make ends meet.
Yeah.
They didn't want the everyday person to be able to make money from it. Remember when they used to tell us marijuana was so bad and it's a gateway drug? And I'm not a proponent of marijuana at all, but I remember when they had all these negative things to say about it. Then all of a sudden the government wanted to capitalize on it. And all of a sudden, it serves medicinal purposes.
Yeah, what happened?
Right. Oh, so you didn't want Leroy down the street to make money. That's what it is. That's
what it is. That's all it is. That's all it is. Let us get our hand in it, then it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Unbelievable. But that's how it
Then
was.
people in prison over it.
Yeah. I remember. You remember the egg in the frying pan commercial? Talking about this is your brain on drugs.
Yes, yeah, discovering all drugs. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
That was, let me tell you, that was a great commercial. It was great.
It was.
Loved it. I mean, it didn't necessarily influence me,
Right.
but you know, they played it so much to where it was always in the back of mind. But I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I like eggs though. You know,
Right.
by me being a foodie, it was more about the egg frying than anything else.
Funny.
I know that's bad. I was like, I just want to see the egg fry. That's good. It's great stuff. Yeah. But
The whole war on drugs they did. It was a whole campaign.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When they're the biggest drug dealers ever.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that people don't realize, or people realize but they don't say nothing about, is that like for instance, it blew my mind that American soldiers were once guarding the poppy fields in Afghanistan.
I just learned that recently.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Girl,
Just recent.
just Afghanistan. So now you try to figure out, so why did we go over there in the first place? To take control of the poppy fields.
That's something.
Now, all this drug, all the war on drugs, all the people, all the little people being arrested, and you got U.S. military soldiers guarding somebody else's welfare, all the while fighting the same thing that you're guarding over in this country.
Yes, that's horrible.
You want to talk about biting your own face? But the thing about it, for me, it was, we here need to understand the game and not be a part of it.
Right. Yes. Correct.
Because once you understand the game, you know the game is rigged. And George Carlin said this one time. He said it's a big club and you ain't in it.
I remember that.
Yeah. And he was so right, because I don't know who I was talking to about Jeffrey Epstein, but it's amazing how people like Jeffrey Epstein can get a pass, but people not like Jeffrey Epstein go straight to jail without a pass.
Yes.
Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. You going under the jail. Throw away the key.
Go directly to jail.
Yeah, but the game is rigged, and once we understand that the game is not for us, we can win.
Right. We can win and create our own game.
Yep.
And our own rules. That's one thing I like about this system, about the system collapsing, the economic system collapsing, the government running out of money. They're about to collapse because now corporations ending, banks collapsing. Now it puts power back in the hands of the people. We have to create our own systems.
And that's
our own banks.
And that's the thing. We, the people, need to realize that is the play. And we, the people, need to realize that is the empowerment that we should strive for.
Yes. Yes.
We can no longer literally cannot afford the 1%ers to continue to control everything, because it is not for us. Because as you know, the 1%ers, they want to relieve themselves of a third of the population.
Yes.
And like your buddy over there said, Bill Gates, what did he say? He can say we can lower the population by vaccinations and healthcare.
Yes, he did. He sure did.
And if you put that on Facebook, they'll say, "Oh no, that's fake news," you know.
Yeah.
But the man said it out of his mouth, and it's documented. And they tried to scrub the internet, but that's what he said. At the
2012 Bilderberg Depopulation Conference.
Yeah,
he said it.
And you know what's so funny? you are well versed in that. And I know we didn't start the conversation off to talk about the Bilderberg group, but that's where it went. And it's okay. That's okay. That's where it went. But I tell you what, we're gonna have to do more. We're gonna have another conversation about that. But any last words, my dear friend, about generational wealth, having confidence, uplifting? Give us a kind word and send us out on a high note.
I would just say that strong, healthy societies are built upon strong, healthy communities. Strong, healthy communities are built upon strong, healthy families. Strong, healthy families are built upon a strong, healthy individual. So it's very important for each of us to do our best to become whole, healthy, joyful, and complete. Do whatever it takes to get there. And then from there, it branches out and restore your families. Help your families to also become happy, whole, and complete. If your family is what people will call broken or it's some type of fracture, you have challenges, do all you can to bring everybody together. Sit them down and do all you can to restore the family. Even if it means that you have to say, I'm sorry, can you please forgive me? Or, if you're not the person that offended someone, if somebody hurt you, you can let them know how you felt. But the family is so important to restore and to cultivate so that the children and your future generations can be okay. It's not about you per se only. It's not about the other person. It's about the legacy. It's about what you desire to leave to your children and your posterity, meaning your future generations, whether that be values, morals, principles, or wealth. Because oftentimes while we're thinking about tomorrow or a 5-year plan or what we're going to do on the weekend, other people are thinking about what their life is going to look like in the next 100 years. What's my 100-year plan? What's my 1,000-year plan? What's my 5,000-year plan? So my desire is to change the way in which we think. Look into the future and see what it is you desire for your children, your family, and your future generations, and do the work. Because you and your family is going to then touch the community, and you'll be able to branch out and help and heal the community. And then the community then will do the same for the society. Because where we're going, with everything around us collapsing, you're going to need somebody. Jobs are going to end. Listen, there's a breakdown right now in the supply chain that's going on right now. So while we've been feeling empowered and I can do it on my own, I don't need it, and we were doing well, just know that you have companies that can't fill their shelves because there's a supply chain interruption. There are corporations right now that are not operating. We have experiencing massive layoffs. And a lot of people don't notice it's happening right before our eyes. You have banks that are collapsing. I just talked about a list of 50 banks that are closing in California in the next couple months. So with all the bank closings, these banks cannot extend credit to the corporations that are running. So all I'm trying to say is if you have corporations closing, banks failing, no credit, supply chain interruption, we're going to have to learn to depend on each other as a family and on the community. So get yourself in order and established and healthy, and get your family in order and healthy. And then from there, you need to identify who in your community can do what job, who can sew, who can grow food, who can do hair, who can educate the children, who can do whatever, anything you need, fix the shoes, repair shoes, because the government will, as we know it, will cease to exist in the era into which we're going. The government has already said, we've reached the debt ceiling. There's nowhere to go. And we've run out of money. We can't pay our debts. So when the government can't pay their debts, welfare is about to end. Food stamps is about to end. Even Social Security. So get your house in order and restore your family for the sake of yourself, for the sake of family, for the sake of your future generations, for the sake of legacy. Because everybody is depending on you and what decision you make today. That's my overall message. Let's get the family back together and help each other.
Fantastic.
Love on each other, support each other, because we need each other.
Fantastic. That, y'all, is Dr. Kia Pruitt. And if you don't know, now you know.
You know.
That's right.
You know.
You got a website for people.
You all.
You got a website for people to reach out to you?
I don't have my personal website up right now, but they can find me on Facebook at Dr. Kia Pruitt. They can find me on Twitter. You can type in Dr. Kia Pruitt, or you can type in Sister Counselor on Twitter. I am also on Truth Social and Telegram as Dr. Kia Pruitt. And I have a Rumble channel. So if you go to rumble.com, you'll be able to see my videos on politics, geopolitics, economics, family values, and a plethora of other things. So go to rumble.com, type in Dr. Kia Pruitt. You can find me there. And if you're interested in silver or gold, you can contact us. Send an email to info at Miles Franklin, that's MILESFRANKLIN.com. And, ask for some silver and gold. Let them know that Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you, and you will get the best prices in the industry, guaranteed.
All right. That's Dr. Kia Pruitt, who was discussing family values and generational wealth, along with a few other items. Definitely go back and listen, as we had a pretty nice conversation. Again, Dr. Kia, thank you for being on the show. You take care. You stay blessed, and we hope to have you again on Fireback Radio sooner than later. And this is Brother Marquise, and we are out of here. Firebackradio.com.